are recording. What's up, man? What's up, people?
Good,
It's
good.
good. It's
Alright,
good.
so on this episode of When the Bell Rings podcast, I am with finally my co-host Farrel. Say what's up, Farrel. Say what's
Hello.
up. People haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah. I've been doing my own thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not slacking off. That's one thing that I haven't been doing. All right. So take that off your minds. I've been really just trying to figure out ways on how to be productive and how to make money. So
Alright, well, the listeners aren't here to listen to you, bro. we're here.
I
Today
was just telling him why I was out.
we're here on a special episode with my man's Brad, also known as DJ Twice. What's up, man?
What's good? Thank you. What's up? Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir. Of course.
How have you been this past couple of weeks, man? I know it's been a little hard for everybody, but you personally, how have you been, man?
Doing pretty good, man. Just trying to stay busy, trying to stay positive. Trying not to give myself too much downtime to slack off. But yeah, just busy. As you mentioned, I'm a DJ, so I've been doing that as well for the past year. But during this whole like lockdown and everything, I'm just trying to stay busy doing that.
And also,
And how do you?
Oh, my bad, bro. You know what, Farrell? We're gonna take turns in asking. So since I just asked the last question, you go
Yeah,
ahead.
let me ask a question because I'm actually like interested because you're a DJ, right? And how do you like? And I heard you do jujitsu too. I don't know if it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu or just like the
Yep, Brazilian
it's
Jiu-Jitsu. That's the
BJJ.
one. It's
Okay.
BJJ.
And do you still train like the past weeks, like the Zoom
No,
calls or
man.
whatever?
Well, I haven't. Since I started DJing, the amount of times I was able to do jujitsu has gone down drastically. But yeah, with the whole lockdown orders and everything, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you're up close and personal. There's no such thing as social distancing.
Yeah.
Although I've seen some gyms,
Open
like
them, yeah.
they opened up or they adapted to like social distant. Like maybe they'll be doing like jujitsu drills on dummies, or they'll be training outside to kind of like finesse the rules a little bit. But as for myself, I just don't have the time.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, how do you really find the time? Because you're doing DJing and then you want to work on yourself.
Right.
Can I ask you one thing? Like, why did you get into BJJ?
Why did I get into BJJ? Well, in high school, I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I didn't really aim too high in my studies and everything. So, I was always into fighting ever since I was, a little kid. I would be in like a kung fu uniform doing like moves in front of the screen, like of a Bruce Lee movie. I was always into fighting. I always loved martial arts. And yeah, I've done other martial arts like karate, judo, and none of them really interested me. And then I started looking into jiu-jitsu, and then yeah, that was a wrap.
And
Yes,
also,
sir.
I believe in every martial arts. I feel as though there's this certain amount of discipline that's needed. And
Yeah.
also,
Oh yeah.
my man's Farrell is a wrestler, and
Mm-hmm.
I think he's dabbling in a little bit of martial arts as well, my man's. And
Okay.
I'm gonna let you answer first, and then I guess I'll let Farrell answer this question after you twice. So my question
Mm-hmm.
to you is, how do you think the discipline in jiu-jitsu has affected your everyday life?
Yeah, man. Oh, it's basically just giving me the base of how to live a disciplined life. Without going too much into it, it taught me how to like set goals for myself. Create a schedule, which is something I really believe in doing. It's taught me how to deal with defeat, how to move on from success, and how to keep on um, to expect the best for myself, and yeah, just to stay disciplined and work hard.
Nice. And
So
Farrell?
for me, um, honestly, because I started off with wrestling, right?
Mm.
Joined the high school team, and with wrestling, I feel like there. Okay, so I've done both. I've done a little bit of both. Wrestling and BJJ, and then boxing and all that stuff. But with wrestling, I feel like I had more discipline. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have more discipline with BJJ, but
Sure, yeah.
I just felt like what I learned from wrestling is more about yeah, discipline, that's one thing, but also pushing yourself harder and harder. Because once you're
Yeah.
at that point where you're gassed out, right? You're wrestling somebody and you're gassed, you're really, really gassed out. You just have to keep pushing because that timer is not gonna, it's not gonna run down anytime soon. You have
Mhm.
another 2 minutes to go. So I think it's taught me like keep going through even though there is pain. You know what I'm saying? Like just keep
100%.
pushing through.
Yeah.
And how this really affected my life was that, it's everywhere. Like my love life, like my productivity in my life, and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe you get rejected here,
Mhm.
but don't let that affect you because you every time there's misfortune, there's opportunity that comes along with it. So then you live and you learn, right? Just
Yeah, yeah.
train harder, be better, and that's what really like BJJ, boxing, and like wrestling has taught me.
Yeah,
So
martial arts
just
in
keep
general,
pushing.
man, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice, man. Those are really good. I mean, I don't fight. I don't. I'm more of a pat.
Wait,
More of
okay,
a,
so let me ask you now, uh, Ronel. Let me ask you. So you don't do all of this stuff, right?
nah.
But have you ever thought about getting into it?
I mean, I have, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I don't think I necessarily had the heart to do it. I mean,
Why?
growing up in the Philippines, bro. Let me tell you a little bit about the Philippines real quick. If you're a kid in the Philippines, you're like it's basically in your blood to call out fights, but not necessarily have it in you to actually fight. You feel me? It's like kind of like you start a fight, but then you never actually be in a fight. So it's just like a lot of staring, a lot of freaking poses, and yeah. Growing up, I was always like that, so I never really had the heart to fight. It was just like calling out names and teasing, and then the tension will build up until you guys are about to start a fight, but then you never really fight, and then you just walk away friends.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I never really thought about actual martial arts and fighting, but
You 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 know what I think though, right? If when okay, when you do go into something like wrestling, BJJ, when especially BJJ, because I feel like hands down BJJ is one of the best martial art out there because you can, even if you're little, you can be somebody big, right? It
Exactly.
gives
Yeah.
you, yeah, it gives you that confidence that you don't have to fight this person because first of all, if you fight this person, that person's gonna die. Well, not die, but that person's gonna get beat the f up, man.
Yo, you
So
know what, man? It's a thinking man's sport. And in jiu-jitsu, if you guys remember like the very first UFCs, Hoist Gracie, he was like
yeah.
160 pounds. The dude was beating up sumo wrestlers, like huge
Hmm.
boxers, just like taking them down using like wrestling. He incorporated a little bit of wrestling and grappling, and he would just mount them, and like those guys would be like defenseless. It was like a lion being drowned in a shark's tank. That's the analogy we use in jiu-jitsu a lot.
Hmm.
So yeah, jiu-jitsu is it's a very technical sport. So
Right.
the idea behind it is jiu-jitsu means the gentle art in jiu-jitsu, and it's a martial art where it favors the smaller guy.
Hmm. And I feel, and I like what you said about the whole like it's a thinking sport. It's a mental sport, right? It's the
Right.
same thing, for every martial art. I agree,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
So
yeah.
and it's like when you have that mentality, when you already built up that mentality that okay, you can beat this person up, or it's like you don't need to fight this person because hey, if somebody is out there trying to like mess you up, he's trying to go in and try to fight you. The reason why
Hmm.
he's doing that is because he feels the need to prove himself, you know.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But if you join one of these like MMA, like MMA gyms or like BJJ, if you join any martial art, you don't feel the need to do that because you don't need to prove yourself to anybody. You've already proved yourself on the mat.
Yeah.
So
It's like this. Like it's not arrogance or like cockiness, but like I feel like as like a 5'6", 135 pound man, I walk down the streets and like I don't have that fear. Like I have confidence that I'll be all right. It's not like arrogance, like I said. It's not like macho ness. It's more just me like I would be prepared if stuff were to go south.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you guys were saying, I'm not saying that I have done this, but I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast. I mean, everybody in this room is familiar
Oh
in
yeah.
some sense with Joe Rogan. He was on a podcast. I
Guy.
forgot who his guest was, but it was basically saying that if you want to learn, you don't go, if you're a white belt and you want to learn martial arts, you don't go and spar with another white belt. You go and spar with the black belt, because he knows how to be gentle with his punches. He knows how to be disciplined, and his point was the white belt, if he's still a white belt, and basically the smallest dogs bark the loudest.
Very true.
Yeah,
Mhm.
man. And yeah, I feel as though since you're a black belt already, you don't have to prove anything, and you can just go at it and not necessarily care. And yeah, I guess my next question for you, Twice, is what has been like your best fight?
Ooh, my best fight. I've had so many, man. All right, let's go back to what the point I was making earlier about jiu-jitsu being a small man sport, it being, a technical sport. So I was in South Korea in 2016, and I recently lost in my division because I didn't really respect the guy too much. That was my fault, and I made a technical mistake. And I moved into what's called the open class division, where all weights, any size, they fight each other. And my finals fight was against a guy who was 225 plus, and I was only weighing like 132 pounds at the time. And yeah, dude was just humongous, and like he picked me up, slammed me. It was crazy, and I don't know. I mean, I basically, like I proved the point again, time and time again, that jiu-jitsu is a martial art to where the smaller guy can overcome the bigger guy, having a better plan, executing a better plan, being steps ahead of the person. And kind of going on another point here, you talked about belts, Ronel.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu is one of the only few sports in the world to where like a 3-year blue belt could be a 15+ year black belt. Belts are really irrelevant now. We don't really look at belts to gauge skill. I've seen so many times like a 16-year-old kid has like mollywopped a black belt adult. Jiu-jitsu is like weird like that.
Yeah. No, I've seen that. I've seen that too.
Yeah.
And what I really want to talk about is back on your last point. I know I talked about this before, but having a beginner's mentality, you don't go into a sport, especially a fighting sport, thinking that you're the biggest, baddest person in there.
No, for sure not. No.
100% no, because it's like if you go in there with that mentality, you're never gonna learn anything because you're gonna think you're the best,
Exactly.
and that's very dangerous. If you go in there thinking, oh, I'm a beginner, even though you were like a purple belt, or even if you were a black belt, you should always go in there with a beginner's mentality. I'm not saying that, oh, don't use what you know. I'm saying learn from people, even from the white belts, because you can get whipped by a white belt. You know what I'm saying? You can get whipped by a blue
100%.
belt.
It happens, bro. It happens all the time. To me.
Yeah, so it's like you have to have this beginner's mentality, and this goes for everything in life. Like, I personally always like to be around people who are smarter than me, bigger than me, badder than me. Because I can learn from them. Because I feel like the people you hang around is what you become, right?
100%.
So always find people that are better than you at things so that you can get better than them,
Definitely. Yeah, agree 100%.
Yeah, man.
What do you think about that, Ronel?
Obviously, I'm not in this circle of.
But you don't have to just be a martial artist. It applies to, I think, everything for sure.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I also feel as though that I feel like if I were to join martial arts, it's a different lens, because you guys are looking at discipline in a different lens. I am looking at it in a different lens, but it's
what's your lens?
I mean my lens is I guess just practical, like just do it type of discipline, and you guys are like more I don't know how martial arts discipline is, because again I don't.
Well, I'll say this much, Ronel. It's like it's just one way. It's one path to building up that ultimate discipline and learning, like learning skills, learning basically things that are going to help you in just everyday. Like there are things I learned in jiu-jitsu that I apply to DJing, two completely different things. But I learned how to practice discipline, how to be patient, just like all of those good things. And I apply it to just everyday life, DJing being one of them. So I think it's just one path to, building yourself up, and it can apply in all areas.
Yeah, and also to change the topic up a little bit so that I'm not necessarily out of place.
Yeah, no, go for it.
And how you mentioned earlier that you were applying jiu-jitsu discipline in DJing for Wish USA, and
Hmm.
how would you say that is?
Yeah, like just going back to like just like not being discouraged, because I know like I'm a huge believer in putting in your 10,000 hours. You got to put 10,000 hours in. I mean, it's just a number, but basically what that suggests is you have to put in a certain amount of time to get to a certain point, and
Mastery.
to mastering it. Exactly. And when I first started DJing, I was horrible. I was stuttering. I was not confident. I had no idea what I was doing. Like I didn't expect to get that offer. Maybe we can talk about that later. But yeah, basically just, enjoying the process, learning a little bit more, 1% better, every single day. Planning, research, just a bunch of different things I did in jiu-jitsu. Same thing, it translated very well to DJing, or in any other venture I have going on in my life.
There was a quote, I think, by Bruce Lee talking about all knowledge is self-knowledge, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, you can apply that to life, and I've been really looking at this, and I've been really seeing that in my life, that is 100% true. So let's
Yeah,
say what I learned from wrestling, right? What I learned from wrestling is that rejection, right? Rejection and not being the best person in the room is okay, Rejection and misfortune and all the negativity above will help you if you just keep pushing. It will be the
exactly.
fuel to do whatever you want to do in life, and that you can really achieve anything. Because when I joined wrestling, I was a scrawny kid. I was 115 pounds, and I was like
Wow.
five.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like five. Well, I was like, I don't know, like 5'6" or something,
Hmm.
and I'm like 5'8" and 145 now. I'm a little bit stocky. But that's because I worked on it. Because I knew that even though I failed, I had a couple injuries. Then I didn't stop. Both my rotator cuffs are torn, and um, and like I had a back injury and all that stuff. But I kept going. I never stopped. Because
That's
the
what's up.
thing is, what I learned is obsession and passion, right, will literally get you anywhere. And I've been reading this book. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Hmm.
Um, Basically, what it tells you is you have to have a definite goal and don't change from that goal. Never change from that goal, because when you have that one goal and you have the passion and desire to go towards it, it doesn't matter what circumstance of life you live in. You will 100% get that goal if you just keep pushing. It doesn't matter how long it takes, you will get it. And that's what
100%,
I
man.
really learned.
And yeah, it's kind of related to what you just said now. But one thing I've preached, and I've practiced with myself, is I've seen so many people just blindly work hard. Like they're killing themselves. They're like overtraining. And I always took the like going back to jiu-jitsu being a thinking man's sport, and wrestling is the same, because you have to be technical to be good. Um,
100%.
yeah, it's basically you have to have direction. You have to be strategic in all things, in your diet, in your training schedule, in your weightlifting, just everything. And I've seen so many guys like, yeah, I'm gonna be a world champion. I'm gonna be a world champion, and they just work super hard, but like they're not. Their formula for success is like way off. I don't know if it's the same in wrestling.
No,
I
100%,
feel
bro.
like
Because a lot of these guys that, I want to be champions, they just wrestle every single day, and that's okay. But here's the thing: overtraining is a thing. Like it's reality. If you overtrain, here's the thing: a lot of people, I guess, in wrestling, I don't know if you can relate to this, but a lot of people, in wrestling, they are instilled this like macho-ness, right? Where it's
Hmm.
like if you get injured, you get a little tear here, you get a little tear there, you know. Keep going,
Yeah,
keep
horrible,
pushing. Yeah,
horrible. Yeah,
it's good. It's good to keep pushing, but if you are injured, man, those small tears can become big tears. And I learned that the hard way. I learned
yeah,
that the hard
yeah.
way. To this day, my shoulder still hurts, but it's like that's because I kept pushing even though I know it hurt. Like I remember I was in a match and my coach was like, "Yo, you got to stop now," because I was I took injury time, and
Right.
you got to stop. Tell him you want to quit, like the referee. And I was like, no, I want to keep going. So when I kept going, it got even worse. The guy sat on my arm, and it kind of just like went the wrong way. And to this day, that small tear became such a big tear that I can still feel it, and it's been years now that this has been happening. So you have to focus on not just working hard, but working smart as well. It's both.
Exactly. And yeah, Ronel, just not to get too much away from the topic, basically planning, being strategic, overcoming, all the obstacles in jiu-jitsu as a sport. I mean, that kind of helped me mature into who I am today. And yeah, like I said, I apply a lot of the things I learned in jiu-jitsu into everyday life, and that really helped me go from a stuttering, clueless DJ to someone that's a little bit better at it now.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna ask, I mean, if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, bro.
Because Farrel was talking about his injuries, and what has, I guess, your biggest injury has been, and how did you recover from it?
My biggest injury. Well, thank goodness I never had anything serious. I never broke anything. I think the worst one was, let's see. I got put in a knee bar position. Basically, it's where like you hyperextend your knee in a joint lock, and my knee went brah, and it just like I thought I broke it. I was freaking out. Like I was like almost crying hysterically because I was more scared than anything, more than it hurt. But long story short, I was like just in crutches for a few weeks. In about a month, I recovered. But yeah, a lot of little injuries here and there. My ankle, my fingers. I'm probably gonna have arthritis pretty soon because of all the years of gripping. But yeah, nothing too serious. A lot of skin infections because of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is a very some people are very nasty and don't shower, so stuff like that.
Yeah,
Ringworm, you know all about that, wrestler.
Ringworm, man. Oh god.
You know all about that. Especially you guys. You guys are more grimy than jiu-jitsu guys, for sure.
We're very grimy.
I've seen you guys. I've seen wrestlers wear their shoes to a public bathroom where there's piss all over the floor and then step on the mats again.
Yeah, we do that.
I've never been so tight in my life.
Yo, let me tell you, what is it called? In my team, one person got ringworm, and then the next day, like half the team, even the coach
all
had
had
ringworm. And I was like, oh no! I'm like, I'm not wrestling today. I'm out, guys.
Exactly, it's pretty gross stuff.
But you know what? Let's turn the topic back into DJing. Like, why did you get into DJing? Like, how did you come upon that?
It was just, bro, it was just one of those things in life that I just did not expect. Like, I was with the homies from San Diego. We went up to LA to watch KZ. I think it was KZ. She was, performing in El Centro. And then the marketing manager, Simon Costa for Wish USA, he came up to me. He was like, hey, man, would this be something you'd be interested in? And I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah. I mean, at this point, I was still pretty heavy into jiu-jitsu. So I just didn't really imagine myself ever DJing, and then he just came up to me, offered it. Long story short, I submitted an audition tape, which was really horrible. And looking back at it, but yeah, and again, long story short, I started on the bus with all of the other DJs for Wish. They were training me. Here at Wish USA, we kind of rotated through DJs a lot, and yeah, I stuck with it. I learned, and here I am now.
Yeah,
that's good, man. I mean,
for anyone who doesn't, I feel like a lot of people have this misconception that all DJs are one of those people that up on stage and chicka 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 on the disc. But Wish USA's DJs are a little bit different. Explain to us how that is.
Yeah, right. DJ, disc jockey. We're not really turning tables here, but honestly, I consider myself more of a host, like a talk show host, like like a Ryan Seacrest, for example, to simplify it. He's on the radio. The only difference between Wish USA and Wish 107.5 in the Philippines is Wish 107.5 is on the radio. We live stream on YouTube. Although, not to give anything away, we're working on some other things, other platforms. But for right now, we're on YouTube. We live stream, and yeah, it's through video. It's through a video call too. Something we switched over to when this whole pandemic started. You know, obviously operating on the bus isn't a safe thing to do right now, so we started this SoCal distancing special. And yeah, basically I'm in front of a camera. I'm still interviewing hosts just the same as I would on the bus, and yeah, it's been working super good. Even our sister company out in the Philippines, which is like our big sister, they kind of followed our lead and they started doing the same. So it's pretty cool.
And also, a quick follow-up question is, what do you think? I mean, going into the bus, and in these times, you're talking to people through Zoom and through online conferences. What
Hmm.
do you think, if you're comfortable with saying, right? What do you think, or who was the most difficult person to talk to as a Wish USA host?
To be honest with you, man, I've dealt with a lot of different personalities. I've never really had a diva though. Like everybody has been like professional for the most part. I'll say this: my favorite people to talk to are kids, because when I was a kid, I did not have that confidence to be talking to, a grown up stranger. Like the way, I'm just really impressed how like the kids for homeschool edition, they carry themselves. But going back to your question, to be honest, it's not a specific person, but it's more of a kind of person. So like the most difficult interviews I have are for people who give very short answers, who don't really want to converse, have a conversation as much. Like I'll be like, so I'll like, hey, where are you from? They're like, Chicago, Illinois. And I'm like, nice. Like, but that's totally understandable. You know, people are nervous. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, to be interviewed live on air. I totally understand. So yeah, it's not a specific person. It's a kind of like a kind of person.
Yeah, and also, I mean, okay, this is where we're kind of on the same boat when you said the most difficult people aren't necessarily divas, but people that give short answers. Because
Hmm.
let me give a shameless plug real quick. Because Music Pod is a platform where we interview um, musical artists from genres all across the board, and
Hmm.
we interview me and my co-host, DJ, what's his name? DJ Low, right, on Music
Hmm.
Pod. And basically, right, one if I already ask one question, right, if I say, oh, what got you into music, and they say like one sentence, I'm already panicking, I'm already sweating, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be it's practically the longest 5 minutes of your life, because you have to come up with answers, you're gonna have to come up with comments, and I mean for everyone, it's gonna be like curated compliments. I mean, that's for everyone, but
Right.
yeah, for for anyone who's out there listening who wants to be a guest, please give us, a little bit more effort on the answers. I mean, it's
Right.
hard being a DJ as well, especially for you. I mean, I can only imagine how you are. I mean, being in the game for, I believe, more than a year now, over a year.
A little. I think August will be actually. I think August will be my year,
Oh, August will be your year. Well,
and that's Wish USA's 2-year anniversary as well.
yeah, man, happy anniversary for you guys in Wish. And you guys have been posting that you guys will have something unseen. I mean, I've been seeing teaser posts from TGN.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
man.
yeah,
For sure. A lot
yeah,
of big things coming. Stay tuned.
yeah, man. He's not giving us any answers, so we're gonna have to stay in tune for that. Alright, my
Yeah, I can't. I'll get busted, I think.
yeah, man. And Farrel,
But
before
yeah, man.
we
Going off of what you said real quick. Yeah, I mean, obviously for the DJs and the host, it's our job to kind of get the conversation flowing. But for anybody who wants to get into this game, my advice to you, which helped me, is have your go-tos. Like have your, for example, if somebody's kind of being short with you, not like temper wise, but like in their answers, have a go-to. Like for example, how'd you get into music? And then they give you a short answer. Oh, okay. Well, who inspired you? You have to have like the go-tos in order, so you're not like stuttering, and you don't have like a lot of dead air.
I think I completely agree with you. I believe that this is for everyone. You know, this is for a whole lot of people, not just in that industry, but also just if you're talking to somebody in the normal world, in the physical world, you know, like you're just talking to somebody and they're just giving you like one word answers, you know, that means there might be something wrong with that person, okay? Like, there might be something like, you know, hey, maybe they're nervous, or maybe they're just not interested in you, you know. But you can also change up the way you ask questions, you know.
Right.
Yeah, have your go-tos, but what I'm hearing from what your go-tos are they're open-ended questions. You know, how did you start music? Because it's not just it's not a yes or no question, you know. It's like, this is how I started music, and they start to go back into their life story and stuff like that. So I think you have to be very precise in your questioning. You have to really know what you're trying to ask, because don't ask them like how are you? You know, like how are you is like it's very broad. It's a very like
It's
basic
yeah.
question, you know?
And you have to think on the fly too, man. There's so many times where I had to just like give like it's like a 5 second max of like dead air. You the conversation doesn't really have like a direction. You know, it's kind of like all over the place. And you
Right.
really have to be good at thinking on the fly. Like, how am I gonna make this interview interesting? How am I gonna keep it flowing naturally? And yeah, like
How do you
because
connect two topics together and stuff like that, right?
exactly, because that's our job. Like that's their job is to. I mean, I'll just talk about Wish. It's their job to perform. You know, obviously it's up to them how they want to carry themselves during the interview, but that's more of our job. And I've seen it a lot of times too. Like I'm not to like brag or anything, but I've seen so many people like super nervous before, like when we're off air, before we go on air. And yeah, like I've made them I've learned how to make them comfortable to where they can come out of their shell and like really just have like a, you know, like a casual conversation. It's not like I'm not like a news broadcaster interviewing them on like internet, like live TV. It's more just like me talking to you guys like right now. Like it's super casual and chill. So I think that's a good way to get people to open up and be more comfortable.
I feel like that's a very like important thing though. Like in any conversation, in any relationship that you're in, right? It doesn't matter like what industry you're in. Just talking to normal people, like I said before, it's just about trust and comfortability. If that
Hmm.
person trusts you, they will be comfortable with you and sharing whatever their thoughts are with you. But if they're
Exactly.
not trustworthy, if they don't trust you or they're not comfortable with you, they're just gonna be closed up. So you have to
Right.
find ways to open them up. You know, that's the hard thing. That's the hard
Also,
thing.
be relatable. If they can relate to you, and like find some middle ground, find something where you guys kind of share an interest or something, and that's another good way to get them to open up and be more comfortable.
Right, 100%. That's what I did. That's what I did here.
Exactly. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu. There you go. We proved it just now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you have anything to say on that, Ronel?
Not on that, but I was actually gonna go off on a different note. I mean,
Yeah.
my man's Twice is undoubtedly a pretty guy. You know, my man's got a pretty face. And
He said a
a couple
pretty
of
guy.
and two episodes ago, we were talking about Farrel and I. We were talking about relationships, and my man's Twice. You know, how have you been dealing with relationships, my man's?
Well, the last relationship I was in was, I mean, it was a pretty toxic relationship.
Woo!
It was
Do I know a
2 years
thing or two?
ago,
Do I know a
about
thing or
almost 2
two
years ago.
about?
No, like a year and a half ago, I got out of it, and we did the long distance thing. I would travel. But this is when I was living in New York, and she was in LA. I would travel to her mostly, and yeah, you know, I mean, that was like my first heartbreak for sure. She broke it off with me. But yeah, man, that was one of the hardest things I dealt with. And for any of the young listeners, it's gonna happen. It's inevitable, and it's not the end of the world.
Okay, I want to cut it here. Okay. How did that
No,
heartbreak
wait,
change
Farrell,
your
wait, bro. Cause if any
What?
of you guys, cause my man's is passionate about this topic, so take it away, my man's.
Yeah, man. Oh, sorry, me or
No, Farrell. Yeah, most of.
Farrell? Okay.
So I want to ask you, okay,
Hmm.
how did this heartbreak change you as a person? Because I know for a fact that especially like, okay, I don't know how long you guys were together, but heartbreaks are the defining moment of your life. It's like, it's your rock bottom. So it's
Yeah.
like, what changed after that? What do you see in yourself change after that?
Basically, I grew up. I realized, man, I have a lot of good things to say, but I just don't know where to start. But I'll start by saying that it kind of made me more realistic. You know, like when you're in that puppy phase, when young love, you think that yeah, you guys are gonna just get married and it's all good and it's like this. But you have to remember that people who have different values than you, you know, they might not have viewed this relationship the same way you did. You know, as for me, I'm a conservative guy. I'm a Christian, and I'm not into the whole dating thing. But my ex was, so like we always talk about, yeah, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have children, blah blah blah, we're gonna do this and that. But it kind of just it made me know what to look for in a partner, like the values and the beliefs. Because if you guys don't have the same values, chances are it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I learned, and it made me be patient, because being single is not a bad thing at all. You have time. It sounds cliche, but you got time. You got more time to work on yourself. You have more time to grow as an individual. And when I was in that relationship, I was an immature kid. I was really I had a bad temper. I'd lose my patience a lot. And what I learned from that relationship in particular is basically just how to be in a relationship, what works for me. And that was a good trial to whatever happens in the future for me as far as relationships go.
Wow, that's good. That's actually, like, I feel like everybody who went through a heartbreak has gone through all that stuff. It's a way. I feel like it's, how they say you have a what is it called, like, to be a man you have to do something, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like this is what it takes to be a man or a woman. It's not about you doing a deed. It's about you working on yourself and you changing your mindset and changing your values to fit what you really want in your life. It's figuring
Exactly.
out maturity. It's figuring out what you are as a person and what you want out of another person. You know,
Right.
because at the end, like, in the end, like, you just, what you really want is to be with somebody who will be there for you for the rest of your life.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
and
Agreed.
and your values have to match up. I agree with
Yes.
that.
Yeah, because just real quick on that point is, if you guys have two total opposite beliefs, like something that's very a good example of that is like maybe political views or religious views. Like if you believe in one thing, if you believe and your partner believes in a completely different thing, and especially if you have children, like I could see that being kind of rough.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Especially, I'm Catholic, so it's like, my parents want me to marry into somebody who is a Catholic as well, and I
Okay.
completely agree with that because, um, if you if I go out and I try to find a partner who doesn't have, first of all, the same religious belief as me, my
Hmm.
kid, I'm thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about my kid is going to be so torn up, like he doesn't know what to do, and you're trying to give him a choice. But
Right.
sometimes that choice is very hard to make when you're a kid, when you don't really know what you're doing,
Yeah, man.
you know?
Right.
So
And
Totally.
that's just my point.
yeah, man, I feel like everybody needs to experience a toxic relationship just so that they can get their head on straight. Because for me, I feel like the reason why I got into uh, self help, one of the reasons why, is because, I mean, being in a toxic relationship, especially in high school, come on,
Hmm.
everybody's toxic in high school. And yeah, that heartbreak got me to realize that women aren't the I would say women aren't the end goal. Your end goal is actually to have someone to help you in your purpose. And Farrell and I have been watching. I mean, we've been watching this guy called AMS, and
That's my guy.
yeah, he's practically a dating coach, but he doesn't necessarily talk about women. He talks mostly about be on your purpose, be on your grind, and just start being busy. And which is what you're currently doing right now, twice, which is amazing, especially like now in
Thank you.
lockdown, being trying to find ways uh, to use your time wisely. And I feel like now what the problem is with today's youth. I mean, I'm not generalizing. I'm overgeneralizing here. But
Nah, man, go for it. Go off.
yeah,
I
man.
might disagree.
Yeah, and what I feel is wrong with the youth in today's generation is one, too much social media, and especially in today's lockdown
100%.
where everyone's on social media and everyone's connected. And
Right.
what the youth I feel like don't see, because I see this in my friends, is that if you're too connected, there's no value there. There's a quote in Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power. He said, too much circulation makes the price go down. So if you're constantly talking to people, if you're constantly talking to girls, where's your value at? You're not busy. The accent came out real quick. You're not busy.
Right.
You're not busy. You're not on your purpose. There's nothing attractive about not being busy. There's nothing attractive about not being on your purpose. And
Exactly.
being too
Yeah, just making
available.
yourself too like available, and like your time, you're devaluing yourself and your time. Essentially, is what you're. Is that what kind of like the point of that, or?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. You got it on
Yeah.
point.
I
Gotcha.
believe. All right, so let me tell you what I think right now. I 100% believe in that. Like, that is the one thing, making yourself too available. Okay, now, okay, I'm not saying that, you know, you should go out of your way to not make yourself available. You know, definitely be available, but to a certain extent.
But when you are available, don't force it.
Don't force it. Yeah, exactly. Don't force it. So, like, don't. You know, if a girl texts you, right, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna text her back in like 4 hours. Don't do that. That's so dumb. That's you playing a game. The only way you can win the game is by not playing the game. That's the only way you can win, because let me tell you why. If you go out of your way to make yourself unavailable for this person, but you're not doing what you have to do to work on yourself, right? The whole point of being available for this person is that you have to be available when you can be available, you know? Basically, if you're playing PS4 all day, right? If you're playing freaking GTA all day, you know, and you look at your phone and you see a text from your girl, right? Or a girl that you're talking to, you know, and you say, oh, I'll text her back like in 4 hours. Why would you do that? Because then that means you're not working on yourself. If you were working on yourself, people can actually see that. This girl, she's not, even though you're doing all this stuff, it doesn't matter, because when she sees you in person, right, and you're talking about all this stuff, you have no value to give.
Yo, bro, you know what I think about that real quick? Because you were mentioning about the playing PS4 all day and then not improving yourself. You know those TikTok videos where the guy's just playing a game and then the girl, so he texts a girl and then she's not replying, so he's like, let me go play PS4, and she doesn't reply for like hours, and then he checks his phone. It's like, oh, she's not replying, and then he goes on like an entire tangent of crying and, oh, girls ain't nothing. You know what I think about that, bro? I think, aw, poor you, my man. It's like, bro, I can just go off real quick, but do something with your life. Time is so it's so I think Jordan Peterson said this. He said, people don't know how valuable they are if they just use their time wisely. If you're playing GTA all day, like my man's Farrel said, I mean, where's your time going? It's going nowhere. So yeah, be on your purpose, man. And,
exactly, Ronel. And a little bit on that of relating it to Jiu Jitsu, is that's another thing I learned, is knowing your value. I'm not somebody who views himself as important or this and that. What I mean by knowing your value is knowing what to knowing what to accept, knowing, you know, who to give your time to. Because if you just like going back to what we were saying earlier, just making yourself too available, you kind of cheapen yourself in a way, and you might take less than what you rightfully deserve.
Yeah, that okay, let me speak on that. So basically what I see dating as now is that I think I was talking to Ronel like just before this, like I told somebody like, you don't deserve me, you know, because it's like I felt the need that you need to work on yourself because of your self-esteem right now. You're not at the level where you can give value to me. You know, I want somebody, the whole point for me to be in a relationship is for you to give me value and I give you value so that we can grow and learn together, right?
Right.
That's my entire point of being in a relationship, you know? So if you're dating somebody just because you're lonely or just because you're desperate,
Ooh.
the only if you do that, then that means you have to work on yourself. Like, and let's say you're in a toxic relationship, right? Because everybody has been in a toxic relationship once or twice in their life. And basically, what I say to that is, if you are in a toxic relationship and you don't leave, that is saying something. That means that you don't have enough self-esteem, self-confidence in yourself to be with a person who actually deserves you. You know, you deserve that person because you feel like you deserve that person. You know,
Exactly. And
You
going back to
have-
what Ronel was saying is, yeah, I think it was you, Ronel, who you said that being in a toxic relationship, everybody should go through it because you learn a lot about yourself
Yeah,
and
definitely.
during that time. So yeah, like I can relate to that 100%. You know, if that's a very good painful lesson, a toxic relationship.
Yeah. All right, let's change the topic up a little bit. We've triggered Farrel, I think, a little bit.
Triggered? What you mean triggered, bro? I'm chilling.
Nah, cause you
He's on.
you passionate about this, so I know that for a fact. So I saw in your story that you pre-ordered this book, which actually got me to contact you. I was like, yo, bro, you read books, and I guess
You do some reading, bro. You do some reading.
and
Here and there.
what do you think has been your favorite book so far?
My favorite book so far is I'm not gonna front. I don't read as much as I should. You know, sometimes I'm a little too much on social media. I'm guilty. But
Yeah,
one of
we all
my
are.
favorite books I've ever is this guy trained a lot of the greats, like most famously Michael Jordan. His name is Tim S. Grover, and it's a book called Relentless, and it's the most quotable book in my opinion for what I like. So basically it's called having the cleaner mentality, being a cleaner. And basically what being a cleaner is being so goal driven, so focused that everything else is irrelevant. And I forgot a little bit about the book, but basically he was saying that you have to channel your dark side. You have to be when you're working towards something, you have to be such an introvert. You have to block everything out, and you have to be so focused on the goal that everything else is irrelevant. And yeah, and just before I got religious, like that was kind of like my Bible. That's kind of what I molded my life to be like, to be like a super, goal driven person. In back then was Jiu Jitsu. So yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite books, and I love to quote that book a lot.
Yeah, and
Dude.
I feel like that point, you have to be such an introvert for your goal. Bro, Farrell, have you read The Deep Work by Cal Newport?
No.
Basically that ties in the same way with what Relentless, the book, Twice was talking about, was saying. It was one of the points in the book was that you have to isolate yourself so much to the point where, I mean, I believe it was Friedrich Nietzsche. He was a psychologist, one of the greatest psychologists, arguably, and in the 20th century. And he basically, to focus on his work, I believe he rented a house in the middle of nowhere, and basically he would be there for days, and then he would come out for like breaks, and then he would go in again for days again, and basically that that isolation is what drives you as well. It's what helps drive you towards your goal.
Yeah, 100%.
And
So,
Go ahead.
Let me talk a little bit about what you were saying before. Like, you pointed out that you wanted to do what the book told you, Relentless, to do with BJJ, right? That to be an introvert and be so goal driven, But
Yeah.
I felt like that was what I did without even reading the book. Like that's what I did with wrestling, I went in there and my goal was to be the best, that was like the biggest goal. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this 1,000 times. because here's the thing, that was very problematic for me. Being so goal driven that I became an introvert. That was such a problematic thing for me because um, I'm a naturally socializing like I'm a social butterfly. Okay, like I really love talking to people. That's my one big thing. I love talking to people,
Yeah, man.
and it was really problematic for my mental health when that happened because all I did, like, all I did 24/7 was think about wrestling. You know, I would go into school thinking like, oh, like I'm gonna prepare this meal and this meal at this time for this time. You know, and then I would, you know, I would remember to like, oh, I have to bring this, I have to bring that, I have to do this, I have to do that, like just for wrestling. You know, I wasn't even
Right.
thinking about my work. I wasn't thinking about talking to anybody else. I was just thinking about my only friends were my teammates. That was it. Like I literally only talked to my teammates, you know, and that became very problematic for me because I'm like, dude, like I just feel so alone, you know, like I
Yeah.
just felt like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm being very good, you know, like
Right.
I'm being so goal driven, and I reach, you know, the level that I wanted to be. I wanted to be captain, right? So and I reached what I wanted to be, but it's like the price that I had to pay to get here,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
believe was worth it, you
bro.
know.
And I can relate 100% because I, when I kind of transitioned off of being like a full-time athlete, a full-time jiu-jitsu athlete, I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I'm killing myself. I love jiu-jitsu, but do I love it that much to where I sacrifice relationships? I sacrifice time with my family, my friends. You know, is this all worth it to basically receive a fake gold medal on a podium? That's, you know, that's glory that's forgotten. People forget, you know, you win and then you become irrelevant. So I'm just like, I thought about it long and hard, and I'm just like, you know, I love it. I'll probably continue to train jiu-jitsu down the road, but there's more to life, you know, and that I'll tie, because religion is a
Hello.
very important thing to me. I'm a Christian, and when I started to practice my religion, I'm like, I have more purpose now. And then naturally, I started to kind of come off of jiu-jitsu, and then this whole, you know, the DJing thing came later, and yeah, here I am now.
Yeah, dude, I totally relate to that because it's like, okay, so when you go into tournaments, right, you have
Hmm.
a bunch of matches. Once you finish one match, you have another 20 minutes before your next match. And
Right.
even if you do win that one match, you're always thinking about the next one. You're nervous about that one match, but after that match does not matter to you at all. What matters to you is the next match. So it's like this cycle of like,
It is, yeah.
just, yeah, just like I win, but that win didn't matter. I'm waiting for the next one, you know, like I have to go fight this other guy, you know, and I have to win again and win again and win again. When does it
Exactly.
stop? You know, like when does it stop? When you become champion? No, because when you're champion, you have to defend your title. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly,
So
man. And yeah, I mean, I'm not to knock the people who are working hard, you know, in jiu-jitsu and in wrestling. You know, everybody has different goals, everybody has different things that they want to accomplish in life. And I'm I can't stress how thankful I am that I got into jiu-jitsu, because that was kind of like the building block for me. That's kind of where I started to mature and be, you know, learn and become a man. Because I mean, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, like I was like a troublemaker. You know, like I would, you know, I won't get too much into that, but I got into a lot of trouble in high school, and then yeah, once I started with jujitsu, like that was kind of like the beginning of me turning my life around.
Yeah, man.
100.
Yeah, man. Turning your life around is one amazing achievement in your life. And speaking of turning your life around, you've mentioned before that before you got religious, Relentless, the book, was your Bible. And now that you
Hmm.
are religious, how do you think Christian? Because you're a Christian, and how do
Right.
you think Christianity has given your life more purpose, and how do you think it turned your life around?
Because I went from living for myself to living for God, and I chased, like, you know, glory in myself. I was arrogant, you know. And I mean, I don't want to say I was arrogant, but I was like I was into myself, you know. I'm like, yeah, I'm the champion. I'm the European champion. I'm the world champion. I'm doing this and that. People are taking pictures with me, and being a Christian humbled me, because I live by the mindset that I'm nothing. I'm just dust, and you know, doing everything for, you know, God, you know, dedicating your life, you know, life for God is what really kind of took me away from jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is it's in a way it's a vain sport because a lot of people that's like the culture in jiu-jitsu. You want to be you want to be famous, you want to get sponsors, this and that. But I felt myself, I was constantly chasing happiness. It's like it went full cycle. Like I would win a title and then I would want more. I would get a sponsor, but I would want more. Like, what can you do for me? Now that I'm a Christian, I don't view myself as important. I ask, and it's like, what can I do for other people instead of myself? And that has just been the most fulfilling thing. And I truly found happiness in that.
That's powerful, man. The thing that you said about how can I help not just myself but other people, that really, like, yeah, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I respect that.
Thank you.
And,
I feel like there's a.
And I was just gonna say that what Twice just said about what can I do for other people, the quote from JFK just struck mine. Ask not what this country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Yeah, man. Because that's like actually a powerful thing. It's also written in the Bible. It's more blessed to give than to receive. And the joy from helping people. A couple episodes of this podcast ago, I was talking to Sophia, and confidence, I also feel like it stems from the fact also of giving love to other people. I mean, the joy of just giving is just immensely powerful, and that alone
100%.
can build your confidence.
Yeah, and expanding a little bit on my Christianity, not to impose my beliefs on other people, but another big, I can't stress how much it is a really big impact Christianity brought to my life was, I mentioned earlier when we were talking about relationships, I had a temper. Naturally I'm a very sensitive person, and I really learned how to be like slow to anger, like the Bible mentions, how to forgive. That's one of the, I would say that's the hugest thing, how to forgive and how to love your enemy. And those are all value, like, even if you're not religious, I think those are like things that everybody should practice, because if you have hate in your heart, if you don't know how to forgive, if you don't know how to move forward, then that's a good way to self-destruct.
100%. Man, that's powerful, because like what I really believe in, what I really abide in is the fact that there's so many rules in religions, there's restrictions for this and that, and there's laws and stuff like that God has imposed on us. But I really believe that you will not break any of those laws if you love yourself and you love others. Because if you can love yourself, right, you will not do the things that will hurt other people. You will love them just as you love yourself, and
exactly,
that really reflects on your character. Like, if you really don't love yourself, the famous saying, hurt people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you really do love yourself, and not even just in a religious term, just if you love yourself, you will love others and you will love God. So that's the one rule that I put myself to.
Yeah, man, and definitely, yeah, you're on point for sure.
And,
what do you think about that, Ronel?
Well, yeah, I was actually thinking about this lecture on biblical psychology on Jordan Peterson, and basically he was talking about the golden rule. If you love yourself, you're not necessarily gonna do anything to hurt others, because you're so comfortable and in love, like, you love yourself and you're so comfortable with the state of your being that you don't need to impose anything to others. You don't need to impose negativity on others, because you yourself, you have your own bubble, you have your own weather, and the weather of others isn't necessarily going to affect you. And it's just love and appreciation for all men, because you are also a man. So if you love yourself, you're bound to love others. So yeah. And
yeah, man, 100%.
yeah, and I guess this is all the time that we have for this episode. And for my last question, Twice, what is a nugget of wisdom that you can impose to the youths in our time today, especially in these hard times, man?
Nugget of wisdom. Well, before that, I just want to thank you guys for inviting me on. It was definitely a very fun conversation. We got to talk to a lot. I'm gonna be a little all over the place with this. I don't have something completely set, and I'm probably gonna go back on this like, I should have said this, but Yeah, a nugget of wisdom, guys. Hard work works. You know, guys, patience is everything. You know, have a plan, follow a schedule, do things every day that you don't want to do. Help have the mentality that, like we just talked about, what can you do for other people instead of yourself? And to keep it short, in my faith, when you live a life for God, you can never go wrong. And in all things, give thanks to him. And again, thank you guys for having me on. That's my little nugget of wisdom.
100%, man. I love having you here. I love talking to you, man.
Yeah, dude, lots of fun, guys. You guys are killing it, by the way, and I wish you guys all the.
You too, man. 100%. You too.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you, man. And before you go, I would just like to ask, where can we find you, man, on socials?
Where can you find me? Well, you can follow me on my Instagram at Brad M Johnston. That's the. If you guys want to kind of see what I do day to day, on the other social media platforms, I'm not really as active. But yeah, my Instagram is the best way to keep up with me, and that's at Brad M Johnston with a T after the S.
Yeah, man. And that's gonna be all for this episode of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you again, Brad, for hopping in. And
appreciate you guys.
We wish you guys the best, and that's it. See you guys.
All right, guys. Godspeed. Take care. Bye bye.
Running through my